let's go to the Davante Adams walking off the field. Look, this was stunning when I saw what had happened. Matt Casey texted it to us last night. I missed it during the weekly Monday night trip from the barn back to the house. But, this poor kid, I mean, he's working. He's got a tripod. He's got no way to brace himself. You never know how somebody like that's going to fall, where they're going to hit their head. I mean, you're accepting a lot of risks of what's going to happen to that kid when he lands. And Davante Adams is lucky that kid didn't get seriously hurt, because he could have. He's got no way to protect himself. He's straight down. He's got a backpack on. That kid's there working. And I know Davante Adams immediately apologized in the press room, and he apologized on Twitter, and that's fine. I mean, what's he going to do, not apologize? What are you going to say? Yeah, I did it, and I'll do it again? Of course he's going to apologize. That doesn't make it something that didn't happen, and there's already reports that there will be discipline. There could be, Chris, a suspension of Davante Adams. And some people are going to be like, oh, why? What's the big deal? Well, here's what the big deal is. This wasn't somebody who was pushed down who was in uniform for the other team.
Right.
This wasn't something that happened on the field. We say all the time, hey, if that thing that guy did on the field happened out in the parking lot, he'd have been arrested. But Myles Garrett hitting a guy over the head with his own helmet, whatever thing we've seen after the whistle where we're like, holy crap, what are they going to do to that guy? Because if it did happen anywhere else, he would be prosecuted for assault. I mean, what Davante Adams did there was inexcusable. And I've already gotten emails from people, oh, if it was Myles Garrett who did it, you wouldn't shut up about it. Well, I'm not going to shut up about it anyway, even though Davante Adams is a great guy and it's out of character. He did it. And now he's going to face the consequences. And I hope he doesn't complain about what the consequences are, because he has to understand, even though he apologized, Chris, there's going to be consequences for this.
Yeah, I mean, pretty shocking, really. I mean, Davante Adams is one of those receivers that you never really see have any outbursts at all. I think that's where I was shocked when I was sitting there on the couch watching post-game stuff. And I'm just a guy that usually got his emotions in check. We've never seen him have outbursts on the sidelines in Green Bay about, give me the ball or what the hell's going on. It's out of character for him, but I don't understand it. I don't. I've never understood that. Why are we going to take it out on a guy that's there to really support the sport and it meant nothing bad by it? That's where, as a player, you gotta check your emotions. And yeah, you're right. I don't know where this goes, Mike. First thing I kind of thought of was just like, ooh, I wonder if he'll get in trouble with the league for this. Verified personnel covering the game on the sideline to do that. We'll see. I hope it doesn't end up in a suspension. I understand the fine, and I think that's totally justifiable. To lose a game over it, I don't know about that. Again, it is an emotional sport. We want players to care and be pissed when they don't play well or lose a football game. And I think this is a guy that really does care, legitimately, and had some plays at the end of the football game where he's going, man, I'm better than that. I shouldn't have let that guy jam me so Hunter Renfrow runs into me. I shouldn't have bobbled that ball, just a little bit there while I had my feet down. So I can understand his emotions being like that. I'm just, I guess, shocked by it a little bit and disappointed in Davante Adams that way.
The expectation by the league is you've got that on-off switch, and you've got to be able to turn it off quickly. And we've had that conversation in recent years as it relates to the taunting. They expect guys to turn it off immediately after the play ends, which is unrealistic. But I think it is realistic to expect a guy to have it turned off when the game is over and he's walking to the tunnel. And if it hasn't turned off by the time you're walking to the tunnel, don't leave the sideline area until it does turn off. I mean, that's part of, it's not really coaching because it has nothing to do with what goes on in the game, but it's just part of managing your emotions. If you're still really upset and you're going to be walking through a sea of human beings, and what's coursing through your veins and how you're feeling. We saw him slam the helmet down after the fourth down play. Just stay on the sidelines for a little bit. I think that's just good advice for anyone connected to the sport. If you're feeling the emotions, hang out on the sidelines for a little bit before you put yourself into that position where that there's going to be people scurrying around trying to do their jobs. Your job for the night is over. Their job in some respects is still continuing. Whatever that kid was doing, he wasn't just running around looking for autographs. He was doing his job. Right. So let's give Adams a chance to have his apology heard by us. It doesn't change things for me, but here's what he had to say after the game.
I want to apologize to the guy. It was some guy running off the field, and he ran, jumped in front of me. We coming off the field, and I bumped into him and kind of pushed him, and I think he ended up on the ground. So I want to say sorry to him for that, because that was just frustration mixed with him running and literally just running in front of me, and that was shouldn't have responded that way. But that's how I initially responded. So I want to apologize to him for that.
Alternative facts there. He didn't bump into Davante Adams, and he didn't kind of push him. He gave him a two-handed shove right on his ass. So that's fine. That's fine. He'll hear from the league. He'll hear from the league today if he's going to be suspended. They don't mess around, because you got to process these things quickly so guys know what their status is. We've seen multiple guys suspended this year. We saw the Mike Evans suspension when he ran out onto the field and pushed Marshawn Lattimore to the ground. And that was one of the arguments I heard from the Saints after that happened. Hey, you shove a guy to the ground like that when he's not ready for it, he could be seriously injured. Well, if that applies to a professional athlete in uniform on a football field, that applies to a guy who is carrying a tripod and got a backpack on his back, and he looked like he's 18, 19 years old, for crying out loud. That guy gets the protection too. And that's another reason why they're going to whack him, Chris. Big companies are always obsessed with liability.
Yeah, right.
And if you don't make it absolutely clear now that we're not going to tolerate that, you don't create the kind of deterrence for others to not do it again. So if somebody does it again and somebody gets seriously injured, one of the things the NFL is going to have to deal with is you didn't really punish Davante Adams the way you should have to send a message to everyone to not do this. That's another reason why Davante Adams is going to get hammered by the league.
Yeah. I would expect so. I mean, it's a bad look. It's a bad look for Davante Adams. There's no question about that. I'm going to give him somewhat of a little bit of a free pass here, because he's never done anything like this before. So I don't want to say free pass, but I'm going to say, hey, humans make mistakes. But it's a bad one, and he does know better. I mean, to your point there, and yeah, it's just a bad look for him and the league and everything there. And I think that's probably why they got to do something. They can't let you have a free pass, like you said, walking off the field and, without a better way to say it, kind of assaulting somebody just because they got in your way by accident. They didn't jump in your way. They didn't run in your way. They were just walking, and you weren't looking up. You were looking down and happened to look up at the moment they were walking and then pushed them. And that's where it's unfair and a bad look for Davante Adams.
It really is a shame that Shefty got clowned so widely and loudly for using the term assault after Myles Garrett hit Mason Rudolph with his own helmet on that Thursday night in November of 2019. But it was, and it is, and it shouldn't be a punchline. And it wouldn't be a punchline if you were the one on the other end of it, whether it's getting hit over the head with a helmet or whether it's getting shoved to the ground when you're trying to do your job. It's something that shouldn't happen. And it's fine. And I guess it's funny for some when the person isn't injured, but that's how people get hurt. And that's how, who knows what happens. Once you start that chain of events, it's one of the things you learn in law school. Once you start that chain of events, you're responsible for whatever happens next. You shove that guy down. You didn't mean to have him break his neck because he hit his head against the side of the wall. But you know what? He stumbled and he did. And that's on you because you're the one that started it in motion. So that's the recovering lawyer in me talking, but that's how you avoid things like that. You don't do things like that.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.